Welcome to my show. I'm a guest here. Her name is Amber Kelly. Mrs. Amber, how are you doing, ma?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much, Mrs. Amber. And also, thank you so much for the time and the opportunity. Firstly, you are a passionate body talk practitioner. You're also the host of the Who with Amber podcast show. Can you please, Mrs. Amber, discuss more about yourself and how you're doing currently now, Mrs. Amber?
For sure. Yes, I am the host of a podcast called The Woo with Amber. And in that podcast, I explore things that would be considered intuitive or alternative or maybe even like magical. And I do that with the hopes that the listeners get a chance to hear me experiencing my intuition and integrating it into my life, and me integrating listening to my body because I'm very passionate about people decoding the messages that live in their body. I believe like our bodies are always talking to us. Maybe they're sending little whispers, or maybe it gets a little bit louder, more like a scream, but our bodies are always sending messages to us through like it's intuition, but it's through the body. And I feel really passionate about helping people to better understand what those messages are. And I find as we decode those messages, usually the symptoms or the feeling or the sensation will go away. And it kind of opens up the flow of energy in the body and allows people to feel more at ease, more relaxed, more calm. So yeah, it's been really a big passion for me because it came into my life when I had chronic shoulder pain. I was told that I'm just going to have to live with it, that there wasn't any solution, at least not mainstream. And then in 6 years later, in walked Body Talk. Body Talk was definitely out of my comfort zone. I was not into anything alternative at that point. But it was a friend who was offering the sessions, and she had a really cool story. She had a migraine for 3 months straight where she couldn't sleep, she couldn't lay down. And I was like, oh my goodness, that sounds awful. For her, she went for one body talk session. And by the end of that session, she was laying down for the first time in 3 months. And then that night, she went home and slept for the first time in 3 months. And so she was sold. She jumped into the training the next week. And by the time I met her, she'd been doing it for about 6 months. she Her story really made me curious. I was like, could this be possible that I could have my shoulder pain gone in a single session? That seems wild and like voodoo-y and maybe not up my alley, but at the same time, I was really open to anything at that point because I had been living with it for 6 years. It did not feel good. So I went for my first body talk session with her, and we tapped into just the intuition, my body, the messages that were coming through. When it came to my shoulder, when she came to get the messages from my shoulder, it had to do with there being a lot of pressure I was putting on myself, pressure to be this perfect person. And this pressure was coming through based on my relationship with my dad, which I would say not consciously was aware of, but when she shared it with me, it felt exactly true. It was like it resonated with me. That session, I held it together. She told me a couple other things about myself, and I was just like, oh my goodness, how does she know this? I've never told her this before. This feels so vulnerable, things that I wouldn't share with other people, but she's sharing it to me because she's reading it and able to connect to it through my body. So I go home that night, I cry. I just totally fall apart because it was yeah, just it really hit me deep. For the first time, I felt like someone really saw me. And the next day, I woke up and I had no shoulder pain, and my mind was blown. I was like, what just happened? That was amazing. And so it started me down the path of regularly going for body talk sessions where there would be things, for example, I remember I had knee pain and I had a distance session with her. And by the end of the night, I had forgotten that I had the knee pain. It just resolved with the session. And so that night, she sent me a recording to tell me what had come up. And it was fear was being held in my knee, and she was acknowledging that, and it allowed that sensation to go away because the story, the emotion, the message behind it was received even without me actually hearing it, just my body having had her witness it through even a distance session, it was able to resolve. So this started me on the path of I love body talk. And a couple years in, there was an opportunity to take the training. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, I can't do this. I don't have intuition. I can't read somebody's body. But she convinced me, the practitioner I'd been going to take the training. She said it was like 1,000 body talk sessions in 5 days. And I love body talk sessions. So it was an easy yes all of a sudden to take the training, even though I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this. I don't have intuition. Fast forward to the training, 5 days in, I come out the other side, and in the course, they help you to start connecting to your intuition. And I all of a sudden went from thinking I didn't have intuition, thinking it was just something that my friend was able to do, to opening up this part of me, my intuitive part of myself that was always there. I believe all of us have a connection to our intuitive selves, but we're not always consciously connecting to it. So that opened me up to starting to offer sessions and started to take more training in body talk, and has really been the focus of the last, I guess I took the training in 2017. So the last 9 years of my life has been helping people to decode the messages in their body, and helping people to, yeah, find that same ease that it gave me. Like it was a little gift, a
Mm,
little miracle to have that shoulder pain
exactly.
gone in a single session. So that is how I got into all of this.
I completely. It's such a very much beautiful story, which also give you the inspiration. You know, when someone have a situation whereby someone is in a position that this happened just like that, we have to be in the position to also see what we can do to also make other people who are out there to know about it and also gain more experience, which you are also doing through a podcast show as well, which shows the beauty of the body talk perspective. And every single story has also brought out the position whereby you determine that you want to do something that can also impact other people's life. And also in regards to the discussion we I like to, have today and also make people gain more insight and also more knowledge in terms of the body talk, because a lot of people will be in the position to try to say, I want to try my best to understand this better. And I want to see the kind of benefit it also does as it has done to you in recent years. So I would like to first drive to the point of meditation. Meditation
Mm.
serves as a very, very PowerPoint. It serves like a PowerPoint for us to connect with ourselves and actually bring out a lot of emotions that can give us the sense of relief that can help us in a very, very huge way. But regarding that perspective, many people could say that they can't meditate because their mind
Mhm.
is too busy. And the reason why probably is because a lot of people now are in a busy world. We're in a world where everything happens very fast. Everybody are looking for fast improvement and stuff like that. So a lot of people believe that the mind could be busy. They can't do that. But what do you think meditation really means? Beyond sitting in silence and also trying to stop thoughts along the way, Mrs. Amber.
Well, first off, I don't think the point of meditation is to stop the mind, is to stop the thoughts. I do really believe that that is sometimes part of the magic, is just having that chance to sit and be with your thoughts and to witness them, because that's a part of you that's trying to also get your attention. Those thoughts that ruminate, those thoughts that you're like, no, I'm supposed to just be thinking about nothing. Oh no, now I'm thinking about groceries. Oh no, now I'm thinking about that meeting I have 2 weeks from now. But I find that the things that come forward are just looking for your attention, are just looking to be acknowledged. And that's what the beautiful thing in meditation, I feel, gives you. It gives you the chance to acknowledge your mind. And if your mind quiets enough, sometimes you can then acknowledge your body. And if your mind and body are really calm and really grounded, then you can Although I feel like we can connect to our intuition even if we're not really grounded and our mind's not really quiet. But if we're new to connecting to our intuition, that definitely creates a really nice pocket for then that quieter part of you, that whisper, that loving part of yourself, your intuition, to then send you little messages. And I find the mind is obviously, it talks a lot, it says a lot. It is a very busy part of ourselves, and the body is a little is quieter, but you can usually, if you get quiet and you sit down, that's when you notice, oh, like my legs are achy or my back is sore. And maybe you didn't notice that when you were busy throughout the day, but that's your body giving you little whispers. And then if you're really quiet, you can get little messages. Like I found the first messages I got through my intuition were really simple. It'd be things like, do nothing. And I'd be like, okay, intuition, do nothing. What does that mean? And like, but it's just it's a simple little phrase or it's a simple little nudge of like, do nothing or maybe rest or a simple nudge of let's do something fun. Like I might just use the word fun. So I find in terms of meditation, it's the point is not to wish the mind away. The mind is part of the experience. And it's actually, I find nourishes all parts of you if you can like acknowledge your mind. And sometimes even I find when you're in that meditative state, it's like, oh, right, I forgot. I needed to do that thing. I should write that down. So I will jump out of meditation for a second. I'll write that down and be like, oh, right, I forgot that. I should add that to the list of things to do. And then I'll come back to my meditative state, and that allows the brain to feel acknowledged and seen because this is all parts of you want to feel acknowledged and seen.
I sincerely appreciate those beautiful insights. It shows that the mind and the body, they have their connection. They're connected to each other, so we must not be in the position to ignore one. When the body is sending the message, it also connects with the mind. And I love what you said that it is when we settle down or when we actually give a sense of reflection, that is when we start to realize some kind of situations we have around our body, because as you said earlier, our body is always telling us a message. Whether we are feeling great, we are feeling sad, or we are feeling very in a position whereby we feel not worthy, it is always sending a message. That is why when we sit down and give ourselves some brief reflection through the inner mind, it sends a very huge message to the body. The body is the one that gives the message. And how can we try our best to also recognize this thing? And that is why I would like to drive to the position of overthinking and inner communication. When we say we are overthinking, it shows that there are a lot of things that is in our mind. And also inner communication, it also gives the sense of reflection for us to say we are giving communication or also communicating with the divine. So what do you think is the difference between overthinking and inner communication? And how do you think listeners can begin to try to tell the difference, Mrs. Amber?
Really good question. And I love that you speaking to the body is influencing the mind because I do find that the sensations in our bodies get feeling unsafe, and then the mind starts to spin stories about we're unsafe. Okay, what is happening in our life that could be the cause of this? Ooh, it's this. And then you get it stuck in that loop of like you said, overthinking and kind of ruminating on it over and over again. I started a more mindful practice of when I notice my mind is ruminating on the same thing over and over again. I do a more, I guess, like a mindset thing where I'm like, okay, do I want to live ruminating on this story? Or what if I look at what the opposite is and feed that energy and look at that? So let's say that I'm ruminating on, I'm going to be late, I'm going to be late, I'm going to be late. Instead, pausing and looking at, okay, well, actually, what did it look? How would it feel if I end up on time? And then looking at the mind ruminating versus it being like an intuitive download. I think the biggest thing is typically anything intuitive is usually very loving and usually very simple. Like I said, the intuition will give you just like little phrases, especially if you're new to your intuition, it'll just give you like little phrases, little pieces of information. It won't be a lot of information. For the mind, it gets it snowballs things. It's like, okay, maybe you get a really good idea of like, I'm gonna start a podcast. and it feels really aligning and it feels really true and it feels like it's an intuitive knowing. But then your mind jumps on it and it's like, oh, you wanted to start a podcast? Well, let's start a podcast and let's start like a video version of it and let's make sure that we have like like a Instagram and we're on YouTube and we're on Facebook and let's make sure we do like 100 episodes for the first year and we're gonna have this guest and it just like kind of explodes. In my experience, that's the mind. That's the mind taking an intuitive hit, an intuitive nudge. It was like a podcast. Simple. We're just going to start with a podcast. But then the mind gets a hold of it. It's like, well, but we could do this and this and this, and then it'll be great, and then it'll be amazing, and it'll be even bigger, and it'll be. And I find that's when the overthinking or the brain is really taking it on and making it more than it needs to be. Because at the end of the day, the intuitive knowing was podcast. And that's and then just keep it simple, just breadcrumbs towards podcasts. Like, okay, to do a podcast, I need to have things to talk about. So let's practice maybe talking about things, even my voice note. And I need to figure out how to get it onto the world of podcasting. So waiting for a breadcrumb to come along with how you're going to do that. So I find that the mind really drives things where the intuition kind of just like gently sets down a blanket for you to sit on to start to like, I don't know, just a soft place to land to start to take some steps. And it's not that there's no action involved, but I would find the overthinking the mind really explodes it into something so big that it's not something that you're like you could just like take action on. It's all of a sudden it's overwhelming. But like the baby, the like the little seed that was planted was just podcast. And then let it like grow in a more sustainable pace than the mind blows it up to be.
Honestly speaking, Mrs. Amber, I sincerely appreciate that profound insight. Overthinking and also our inner self shows a very big difference. You made it clear that the mind will always send us the message. We are always having a base point where we can sow a seed, something that can actually give us the sense of joy or something that can still give us the sense of hope. But the beauty about the overthinking and also the way the brain thinks, sometimes the way the brain thinks is absolutely image. It wants to think in a way that we can do everything all at once. And that is when we should try our best to notice that and also try our best to see what we can do to give the sense of control. Because we are still at the base point, we are developing something that comes from the mind. We should not give it a sense of enlargement because that is what usually happens. And if we can observe that and know how we can deal with that, I think we'll find life more easier and we'll also know how to give a sense of self control as well. So I sincerely appreciate you for that impactful insight, Mrs. Amber. And also, I would like to
Mhm.
drive to the point of uncomfortable emotions. When it comes to
Mhm.
meditation, even it happens to me also as well. When it comes to meditation, we usually it is a position whereby one can be in a position whereby uncomfortable emotions, things that have happened that really hurts, probably during the day or during the week or during the month, starts to give the sense of reflection. So, why do you think uncomfortable emotions often surface during meditation? And how do you think listeners can try to move through them safely rather than shutting down, Mrs. Amber?
Ooh, I love that question. Definitely, I feel like a big part of my journey has been to make peace with those big emotions, those emotions that don't feel good. I believe that the uncomfortable emotions come up when we get quiet because we finally are softening our guard. We, an idea would be that all week we just stuff into our body, we just stuff into ourselves all these like gross feelings we experience, but we didn't have the time or we don't know how to process it in the moment. So we just stuff it into our body, stuff it into our body. Pretend it didn't happen. But then by the end of the week or by the end of the day, you sit down and you sit down for meditation and you quiet yourself. And so the all that you've been stuffing down starts to kind of bubble up. and it's looking for your attention. So it's not those emotions throughout the week or throughout the day. You didn't give it a chance to finish its cycle. This is something I really believe about emotions is their energy in motion. I'm sure someone else has maybe said that before, but I definitely subscribe to that. It's energy in motion. So when we push it into our body and we don't acknowledge it or we don't let it finish its cycle, let's say you got mad, someone cut you off on the road, you get mad, but you stuff it down because you're like, I don't have time today. I just got to get to work. I can't acknowledge this. And then that anger just sits in you all day. And potentially, if you don't have your guards up, keeping it in, it might bubble up over silly things like someone spills a coffee and you get angry because like, why did they spill the coffee? Well, you're angry not because of the coffee. You're angry because you didn't, that anger cycle didn't finish its cycle through your body. So by the time you get to the end of the day, it's still living in you and that energy needs to flow through you. So that it's for one thing, I think it's so fun. It's so beautiful to find the time to sit and give yourself that chance for it to flow through you because I think that is the heart of body talk is that we need to let our bodies have that emotion cycle through us and how I like to process them in a way that I mean you can cry, you can hit a pillow, you can let yourself shake if you're feeling scared. There's like lots of ways you could let it move through your body. There's also a really beautiful, and I can give it to all the listeners. If they just maybe I'll create a link for you so that they can all get um, have access to it. I have a meditation that's sensations, and I believe sensations are the emotions stuck in your body that are looking to be acknowledged so they can move. Sensations allows you not to have to maybe rage out and like hit a pillow or like cry huge tears because all those emotions are you feel it in your body, your mind creates a story, and then that story you get attached to, and then the emotion actually doesn't finish its cycle. Where if you're able to get into the body, into where you can feel it and where you can just see it as energy rather than as like anger or fear. I mean, it is those things as well, but letting it just be a sensation in your body kind of takes away the mind's fuel for why we can't let it go. Like I know this is a saying where it's like when you're angry at someone, it's like trying to drink poison to hurt them. Like you're hurting yourself more than you're hurting them. So for the the piece of sensation work, it allows you to just kind of diffuse the energy of it and just look at it as a pocket of not anger, of energy. And look at it as a sensation in your body, and all you're doing is allowing that sensation to be felt through your body and released. The same can be said for even pain or just things that we normally label as bad or wrong looking at more as it's just energy, it's beautiful. We're human, we're meant to feel all these emotions, we're meant to be scared and angry and sad. Like that is the beauty of being a human. And the reason that we feel stuck or it doesn't feel good in our body is because we don't let it finish its cycle. Because there's something at some point in our life where it didn't feel safe to do so. And we've learned patterns where we stuff it in. I still have those patterns where I stuff in anger or I stuff in sadness or I
Yeah.
stuff in my fear. But now I have this tool where I can sit and I can feel. And I love the sensation meditation because it's really simple. Like with body talk, then I would want to label the emotion and I'd want to get to the story. But with sensations work, it's just as powerful, I find, as body talk, but something that everyone has access to. You can feel when you have like an ache in your shoulder and you can breathe into that ache and you can love that ache and you can believe that ache is there not for a bad reason, but it's stuck energy. And so if you can just let that energy relax your body to let that energy move through you, out your fingers, out your toes, the emotion leaves you and you don't have to be stuck in this cycle of
Yeah.
anger or sadness or grief. And at the end of the day, even if you can't do sensations work, just I do actually think it's so beautiful if people have a meditation practice where they slow down enough that they can just start to feel it. Because it does the body so much good to just make friends with it. Realize this isn't a bad thing. This is just energy in your body, and it's so beautiful and so part of being a human.
To be honest with you, Mrs. Amber, you said something very profoundly impactful. It shows that emotions will always come around, either anger, pain, or a sense of joy. But despite this emotion, we have to try our best to know how we can finish its cycle, whereby we can try our best to make it actually get the sense of completion. That is why when we go to the sense of meditation, when this thing hasn't finished its cycle, that is why it often comes out for us to actually deal with it. And we have to try our best to face it so that we can heal from such wound that we've actually, that has been created within us. So, with the regarding the insights you brought, I sincerely appreciate every area you brought into this discussion to just make people understand how impactful when it comes to meditation, when it comes to the body talk perspective, and also the emotions as well, the body and also the mind as well. Mrs. Amber, there is also a question I normally ask during the end of the show from our forefathers, from our ancestors. There are a lot of beautiful things that do exist during our ancestral time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, Mrs. Amber, what do you think that thing will be, ma'am?
Mm, such a good question. I feel like there was a slowness, like a slower pace and a more seasonal energy to life from our ancestors that we don't honor as much anymore. Like when we were without technology and very much at the mercy of the weather, mercy of of the just could you find food? Like I mean, there's definitely there it wasn't all glorious, but I do feel that we don't honor the cycles of the seasons and connection to nature the way that our ancestors would have had no choice to because they were in it. That's where they like now we live in situations where a lot of us have homes or we're maybe even in cities where there's like a disconnection from and there's a just like this consistent pressure to always be creating and doing, which I feel is really not sustainable. Like we are from nature. We are
Yeah,
nature. Nothing
true.
in this world is always sustaining, is always creating, is always in bloom. And so giving ourselves permission to have cycles where we are not as productive and we just give ourselves that chance to rest and to maybe even do some of that deeper work that comes with like a meditation practice or a intuitive practice. So if I were to bring back something from the past, it would be just more connection to that understanding that we're cyclical beings and that there are days where we're creating and we're really on, and then there's going to be days where we really need to rest and really need to just honor a slower pace. That, yeah, that would be wonderful if we could all honor that more deeply.
I sincerely agree with you, Mrs. Amber. Globally, we are in a world whereby every single person are more focused more on the screen time and we are more disconnected, most especially families. Families who see themselves, who show themselves love, who come together. Now we feel more disconnection in regards to more pressure when it comes to the social world and more updates in regards to how the world is evolving. But we do
Mhm.
hope that with time, we should try our best to value what is the most important thing, physical connection and also emotional support, so that we won't get to a position whereby we will have several burnout, pain, anxiety, depression, and also suicide rates as well. We want to live a world whereby there is healing, there is joy, there is peace, and we also care for one another. I also want to use this opportunity, Mrs. Amber, to thank you for the great work you are doing, for the time, and also having the dedication and time to be part of this podcast show as well. Thank you so much, Mrs. Amber.
You know, I really appreciate being here. And yeah, for any of the listeners you have, I will give you the link to put into the show notes for that sensations meditation. And I don't know how much longer I'm going to have them, but right now I am offering free body talk sessions. So I will also add that link to the show notes for people to, yeah, jump on that opportunity as, yeah, for however long I leave that opportunity up for.
All right, Mrs. Amber, I will definitely be expecting that. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, Mrs. Amber. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.